Hey yo, it's your boy Los. Today we are going to dive into Bizzle's latest album, Soul Therapy. I'm going to chop it up and tweet. I'm gonna chop it up and talk about each individual song because each individual song touched me in a different way, and I kind of want to be transparent with you guys about that, as transparent as he was about this. And so yeah, let's get into it real quick. All right, so the first song is Fillaway. Um, Man, this. Okay, if I'm being honest with you, when the song first came on, I wasn't feeling it. Right. If you listen to any of my reviews, I'm not a big fan of auto tune. I kind of feel like that's not. I don't know. Sometimes it's cool. T-Pain does a great job with it. It's other people do as well, but for the most part, man, I'm just not a huge fan of auto tune. And when the song first comes on, it's it's an auto tune heavy verse. But I kind of felt like he heard me without knowing me about my hatred for autotune, and so the second and third verse was no autotune, or if there was, it was a very little bit amount. He kind of just spit, normally, and I had a little more respect for the song after he did that. But the song is, for the most part, speaking about his need to get away from social media. I feel like it's the maybe the theme song to, many of us already know about the fact that he put a post up saying that shortly he'll be leaving social media. He's done with it all. Spoken about, in the post he spoke about how him stumbling, or the possibility, the opportunity of stumbling with social media and falling into sin. He was very clear, like, I'm talking about sin. And so on the song here, it speaks about pretty much his desire to throw his phone out the window because of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth, and just his need just to get away from that, and how social media has the ability to make you depressed, and also has the ability to make you no longer see yourself as God sees you. And basically he just had to get away from that. He needs to be free from that. And so he just basically said, I feel some kind of way when it comes to social media, and I feel him. I have deleted my Instagram page at least 3 times. I'm no longer on Twitter at all, my own self. And Facebook, in all honesty, lately has been on my mind about getting away from for an extended period of time. I've gotten away from it for a little bit, but been thinking about getting away for a while for the exact same reasons. I find myself getting more frustrated lately, want to fight people, not physically, but just, verbally, and as well as just stumbling block. Goodness gracious, just a lot of sin out there, yo, and it's a lot. And so I've really been thinking about letting that slide. So when he came forward with this here, I was like, yo, yeah, he's speaking to me. And so I love the song, man, for real. Next song is called Black and Blue. Black and Blue to me was very, it was a very skilled song. And when I say it was very skilled, he did a beautiful job, in my personal opinion, of painting the picture, or 2 pictures actually, of 2 different individuals that will probably never get a sit down and hash out their differences or their problems. But for those who won't do the sit down, or won't take the time for the sit down, or don't feel the sit down necessary, this song, in a sense, does what that sit down would do. The first part, he comes and he's speaking from the perspective of a police officer. He starts off saying, man, I remember back in the day when kids wanted to be me, because I'm a police officer, but now they see me as the enemy as opposed to being me, and supposed to see me as a friend. They see me as a foe. He did a great job of the officers basically just trying to say, don't box us all in. We're not all bad. We're not all racist. We're not all trying to cause problems. Many of us, most of us, majority of us, are out here with the hope of doing good and making things right. But yes, there is a few of us, many of us, that are racist and are trying to cause problems and are power hungry. But for the most part, we're not all like that. So don't put us in that box, right? Then the very next verse, he goes to, from the quote unquote black perspective, where it's, okay, so I hear what you're saying, officer, about not putting you in a box, but I'm asking you to do the same thing for me. Don't put me in a box. Don't, just because you see me as a black man, I got some shorts on, got my hat to the back, does not mean, 1, I'm uneducated, 2, I'm a gangbanger. You know what I'm saying? It's just a style that I may like, whatever, but don't put me in that category just because you see that. And I think he did a beautiful job of showing both sides and the argument that both have, and I think they have solid arguments. Something that we definitely need to be careful about, stereotyping one each other. But another thing he said that I just thought was just beautiful, and I never really thought about it this way. It never crossed my mind this way, and I'm so glad he said it. But when he's speaking about when the black guy was speaking to the cop, he makes reference to the fact of how, you know, most African American, most black men, we live by the whole no snitching, right? No matter what, we don't snitch. And many cops and many, you know, officials and so on and so forth would say, you not snitching is what's keeping the crime rate going the way that it's going. So if you want things to get better, open your mouth, right? But then Bizzle brings up the statement about how you cops have the same no snitching rule. And he says if y'all would snitch, then maybe the police system would get better. And I had never put those two together. And so when he said it, I kind of froze for a minute and was like, yo, that's dope. And I immediately just like loved it, and immediately just was like, yo, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's a perspective that needs to be spoken more about. And I love how he did it. Did a beautiful job of painting that picture and bringing two complete opposites together with the hope of finding a common ground and to show respect to one another, because they both are needed. Next up, we have Leave This Place with Musiq Soulchild. Not gonna front, not gonna lie, I was shocked to hear and see that Musiq Soulchild was on this album. I was chilling at work. I get an email because I'm part of God Over Money's newsletter team. I get an email saying that, you know, new single dropping, Bizzle featuring Musiq Soulchild, and I'm like, what? And I was bugged. I thought I read it wrong, and so I just had to go get it. I don't do singles. Most of you guys know that. I don't listen to singles. I just don't. I'd rather hear the whole album and the whole totality. But I had to see this or hear this. And so I went and copped it, and I was like, yo, I was floored. I'm a huge Musiq Soulchild's fan. Big fan of his. I think that he is, you know, just, man, a phenomenal singer. I love that he's not like majority of the R&B singers as today. They want to cuss. They want to be really explicit when talking about the girls. I'm cool with all that. Just let me know you love her, and how can I love mine better? You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I wanted to hear, what I want to hear from my R&B singers. That's what music gives me. He gives me that clean, you know, respectful, to a certain extent, R&B. Somebody can play around with the kids and not feel like I got to mute it or, you know, turn it down or whatever. Dope song. So I'm sorry. So that's him. But anyways, so hearing him on this here didn't offend me or bother me like it normally does when I hear secular artists with Christian artists. I think he did a great job. They both did a great job on this song here. The song is talking about basically those that live in the hood, those that have the hood mentality. And in a sense, he makes a statement about, I'm probably going to mess it up, but I know we talk about the white man, but all I see is us here. And basically, what I gathered from it was, we can't have the white man's keep me down mentality when the white man ain't even here anymore. And he's like, I'm not trying to make light of what has happened, right? He's like, I'm not trying to say things haven't gone wrong. I'm not trying to say that white people in the past haven't caused problems for us, right? I'm not trying to say that. What I am trying to say though is that, sorry about that. What I am trying to say though is, yeah, they did what they did, they said what they said, but now it's time for us to move forward. It's time for us to do better and be better. You know, I love that, because the simple fact that so many of us, man, still hold on to that quote unquote white man keep me down mentality. I remember watching The Breakfast Club one time, and I forgot who this guy was. He was a wealthy guy, white guy, and he was on The Breakfast Club, and he made a statement about, I'm gonna mess it up. This was years back, but he said something on the lines of, you know, the black people are always saying that I have a leg up because I'm white, and things are easy for me because I'm white, and they don't have this or they don't have that and whatnot. Basically, the black people are always complaining. He said, yep, that's true. Yep, that happened. Yep, that went down like that. Now what? What are you going to do now? Are you going to sit here and continue to complain about what you don't have and how hard things are? Or are you going to lace your boots up and press forward regardless of how hard things are. And I've always had that mindset of pushing regardless of the fact, but hearing him say that, a rich, wealthy white man, not excusing where things is, but pushing us and forcing us to be better and not accepting how things is as an excuse to stay where they are. Loved it. And Biz did a good job of just explaining that same thing, the importance of us to move forward, not settle for where we are, and be better and get better. And I loved it, man. They both did a good job. I'm not gonna lie, although I love Musiq Soulchild in general on this song, I don't think he was necessary. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, he did good. He killed it. But I don't think he was necessary. I think he could have got, a Christian cat or whatever to sing the hook on that song. He had a couple good Evans and Carter's on this album. Oh, they killed it. I just didn't think he needed Musiq Soulchild, but maybe he did it for the shock value, which he did for me, where I saw music was on the album, I quickly went and copped it, so maybe that's what he did it for. But yeah, I definitely didn't think he needed him, but I'm not mad he's on there. Does that make sense? Hope so. All right, next up we got Right Now. Yeah, Right Now was a tough one for me. Right Now was a real tough one for me. So it starts off basically he's talking about being born a single kid, and then his dad they have two more kids and their daughters, his sisters, I'm sorry, and how he left the house before. Sorry about all the bumps. This is crazy. But how he left the house, he was forced out the house before had a chance to get it in with them, and basically because of the dynamics of their home, they have been estranged. They haven't really kicked it, and by the time they got a chance to kick it, they were too young to remember. And basically just goes in context about, sorry about that, basically he just speaks about how he's apologizing for not being in their life like he should have been. He should have been there. He should have been a better brother, but he wasn't. And he's saying sorry. He makes reference to the fact that it seems like, y'all see me as your big brother when you need bread, but if I want to check you about something on Instagram or social media, whatever, you got something to say about that. And I really, he just kind of goes into the whole thing about, we got separate dads, and I should be a better brother. Haven't been the best brother, but I'm working on that. Maybe after you hear this song, call me, we'll chop it up, correct things. And maybe in our conversations, it could be more than, hey, Biz, can I get, as opposed to, how is your day? This was a tough one for me because I have countless brothers and sisters. Like on my dad's side, countless. I really don't know the number. We honestly joke a lot about, it used to be so bad that we would tell our sisters, before you start dating this guy, right, let us know so we can check and see if he's one of your brothers or not. You know what I'm saying? For real. We didn't have that many sisters, so we didn't have that issue on the men's side, but we definitely would tell our sisters that. It's just a reality. But, man, okay, I'm good. But the one that touched my heart the most is I have a brother named Ishmael and a brother named Quentin. Both of them became drug dealers, big time drug dealers, made a lot of money, made a big name for themselves, ended up getting caught, did Fed time, went to jail for a while, and then got out. And I wasn't there. I wasn't there for, majority of their life. And we was in the same city, for a long period of time. And so time went on, we got families now, and me and Ishmael were talking, and Ishmael basically just let me know how disappointed he was in me, or is in me. I used to do Christian rap, as many of you know, and he would come to my shows. To this day, he still knows a couple of my songs. And he's like, on the phone we were talking about, he's rapping the song to me and everything. I'm like, yo, that was mad years ago. And he said to me, You know, man, if you had came and scooped me up a couple of times, maybe I wouldn't have went the route that I went. Because if you had, talked that Jesus talked to me, maybe I wouldn't have done the things that I did. And that hit me hard, man. That hit me hard. Like he told me this last year, and to this day it still sits on me. And I can't shake it. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it should be a reminder for me to do better and be better. But it definitely hit home with me when I heard Bizzle explaining to his sisters how he was a terrible brother and should have been there and should have been better. And it makes me think about my brothers and how I just left them like I did, and I should have been there, should have been better. That joint hit hard. Yeah. I'm gonna let that one go. We're gonna move on to the next one. Next we got Monster. Monster was, you guys know, I'm pretty much a broken record at this point. I love transparency and I love storytelling. I love when an MC can tell a story. Anybody, and I've said this a billion times, I'm gonna say it a billion more. Anybody can write a hot 16. Anybody, I don't care who you are. You pick the corniest person you know and just give them a pen and a pad and say, all right, go in that room, shut it up, close the door for an hour, write a 16, come back. I mean, they might not give you, saying no Jadakiss type bars or Dayton type bars, but they'll put a line or two in and make you say, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? There'll be something going to shake you up a little bit. It's just how what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's just it is what it is. But to tell a story, to be transparent and to paint a picture that makes me vividly see it as I'm hearing your song, that's a gift. That's a gift. And the song Monster to me was nothing short of that. Just a beautiful story that had me, I don't want to see the video for, because I'm sure the video I have in my mind is one that I like, and the video that he's going to do I'm probably not going to like, because he's not going to be able to, I don't know his pockets, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be able to go as vividly detailed as it was in my mind. Tells a story of how he was sleeping in his bed and he had a dream. The lady next to him wasn't his wife. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. He walks to the kitchen, sees two ladies and his wife, and the ladies are disrespecting his wife, and he kind of goes off on them, like, yo, how dare you talk about my wife, you know what I'm saying, based out, kick you out the house or whatever. And they say that the man that lives with y'all says we can do this. And then he goes upstairs and, the man upstairs who lives with y'all said we can do this. Goes upstairs and got the gun in hand, and he goes to his kid's room, and he's like, yo, have y'all seen anybody in the house? And they're like, nah, and they kind of snickering and hiding something behind their back, and ends up being a voodoo doll, and, with pins all in it. And he's like, yo, who gave this to you? And he said, yo, the man that lives in y'all's room says we can do this. We can have this. And but another thing, he said the kids were his kids, but they didn't look like his kids. And then he goes into the room and sees this man with, lizard man, by the way. He sees this lizard man with the hood on and sent over his wife and has his wife's heart in his hand, and basically he calls him a hypocrite with a hiss, like a snake or a lizard, whatever. And long story short, ends up being him. He ends up being the culprit with the hood on over his wife and caused all the havoc in the home. And the point of it is, he talks about how he lived a lifestyle in such a way that gave other women the thought process that they could disrespect his wife, and in a sense treated his kids in such a way that had them thinking the same. And the kids that he didn't, the kids that he thought were his kids, weren't his kids or whatnot, however that went, were basically. Now this part kind of confused me. I'm not sure if he's trying to tell us that he has kids outside of the kids he has now. I don't want to speculate on that. I don't want to gossip on the homie, but basically those were his kids, but not his kids. Some of the lines like that. But the part of the song that got me that I thought was just overall beautiful was the fact that as us husbands, we will go out of our way to disrespect anybody, physically, verbally, whatever, who disrespects our wives, right? But we don't take in consideration that we ourselves can hurt our wives more and cut them deeper than anybody else can. Like Joe Blow on the street who calls your wife a B or whatever. Yeah, that's something serious, but that's nothing compared to you crushing her spirit and not giving her the respect she deserves. You know what I'm saying? And I just thought it was a beautiful reminder of how we should love our wives and treat our wives with respect. And remember, we hold their hearts in our hand. We got to be careful with that. And beautiful song. Monster was a beautiful, beautiful song. Definitely love that song, though. Next up, we have I Need You, which is really a song to the Lord, which I also really enjoyed. I enjoyed it because of the transparency. Like I told you before, I love transparency. He was basically telling the Lord how much he needs him. But I love at the beginning, he made reference to the fact that I feel like I loved you more, Lord, when I first got saved as opposed to now. And I love that. I love that, the truth there. Because I've often said to my dudes who I chop it up with, I feel like I loved God more when I was homeless. Some of you guys don't know, I've been homeless like 3 times. This has all been a while back, but the Lord used it for his glory. But I remember being 6'2", living in this, what was it, Ford Escort or something like that. Mad small joint to the point I could like lean back and touch the back window. But I remember living in that for a little while, and I feel like I never missed Bible study. You know what I'm saying? I never missed a church service. I didn't look homeless either. I took showers at the rec center or whatever, iron my clothes, whatever. I looked like, I was doing something still. But being homeless in my car, I remember just reading the text deeper, praying to God deeper. I did more evangelism being a homeless person than I do being a person with a home. And so I get where he's coming from, where talking about, I need you, Lord, but yet in all honesty, I have been dogging you, Lord. And I love the transparency, I love the honesty with that, of how he wants to give God more than what he's been giving God. And man, I think that's the cry out for most Christians. We can give God so much more of our time and our effort, and he's crying out for more of us, but yet we're so consumed with so much going on, and God gets the back burner. Man, that bothers me that I treat the Lord that way. And he's been so good to me, for real, and I treat him like he hasn't been. But anyway, dope song, love it, love the transparency, love how honest he was about it though. But yeah, that's my joint. Next up is Note to Self. Basically just like how it sounds, he's talking to himself about the importance of loving himself, and not in a prideful way, not in a sinful way, but definitely in a God honoring way, where I praise God for who God has made me, and not being so quick to jump on yourself and point out your flaws faster than others, right? And point out things that you see as negative about you, that God is like saying, yo, regardless of all that, I still love you. I still died for you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a well-needed song and this is a pep talk song to encourage us, or he's talking to himself, but I took it as, to me, encouraging myself to not always focus on the things that Carl needs to work on, but focus on the things that Carl's has worked on, that the Lord has given me the strength to fix and change about me, and rejoice in that, and not being my worst critic or my worst enemy, but praising God for who he has made me, and the work he is doing in me as we speak, and not being so doggone hard on myself, man. I am my worst critic. And that's what I got from him as well. He was just saying how his therapist is saying, yo, love yourself, man. You're not that bad of a person, you know what I'm saying? And I love the transparency with that. I love the honesty, and I love hearing that he goes to therapy. I'm in counseling. My wife, we're in counseling. And it's done wonders for me. I love being able to talk to someone outside of my squad, but talk to someone who is educated and has diplomas on their wall and has the permission or the right to tell me where I'm messing up at. You know what I'm saying? I love that. So I love hearing that. I love hearing another black man is going to counsel as opposed to hitting the barbershop and thinking that's going to fix it all. But yeah, great song, man. Very neat, educated song. What I didn't like, those two verses. The third verse, there was no conclusion to it. I wish he would have done a third verse, and in that third verse he had said just something of, I'm going to reach out to the Lord more for strength, or something about the Lord's teaching me to love myself more. You know what I'm saying? Something along those lines as a positive spin on it, a positive way to end the story. That makes any sense. He just kind of, both verses explain how, rough things were and whatnot, but he didn't take the time to, at the end, explain how the Lord is in the process of fixing things. So I would have loved to have heard that. I believe the Lord is definitely doing that, but just to hear that would have been pretty dope. So other than that, it still was a really, really good song. All right, and the last two songs, I'm gonna kind of put these two together since I'm kind of running out of time. The last one is called New Skies. New Skies is, second to last, sorry. Called New Skies. New Skies is a 3-part song. So the first part, he's talking to Tupac. Thought it was pretty dope. I never gathered from him that he, not that I figured, it's not that it ended against him being a Tupac fan, but it wasn't when he said, basically talking to Pac and how he wanted to be like Pac in a certain way, it kind of shocked me. I don't know why it does, and I don't think it should have, but yet it did. It just kind of shocked me a little bit that he was, gearing to be like Pac in his own way. Thought it was pretty cool though that he wanted to be like Pac. And Pac was an inspiration for him, and he makes reference to the fact that how Pac, at 25 was already gone, sadly enough. But basically, he makes reference for how he is smarter now in his 30s than Pac was in his 20s, and how that he sees now his I guess his limit was, or idea was, to be like Pac, but he now sees it's more like to be like Christ, and that he is more knowledgeable now in things than how Pac was. I hope I got that right. I hope I made sense to you. But basically, what I loved about the fact that part was his understanding of who he was then and who he is now is two different peoples, and he's striving for better than what Pac was striving for. The second verse was to his dad. He says Pops in that. Had to hear that a couple of times to catch it to the separation. Wish he would have said Tupac in the first one and then Pops in the second one, but it's whatever. But he said Pops. Speaking about how his dad was a great man, how he wanted to be just like his dad. His dad, when he got a little drink in him, was, a mean guy or whatnot. But nevertheless, though, loved his dad, want to be like his dad, and strive to be, like him. But understands now that he needs to be better than how he was. And he said something that I thought was very interesting about how his dad's anger sits on him. He now sees that same anger in his son. It just made me think, me and the wife talked about this the other day, made me think about how important just remembrance of us as parents, how things we say, things we do, how it affects our kids, and our kids mimic us like there's no tomorrow. It's crazy how that happens. Just a reminder of us being careful with things that we say, things that we do, because our kids is definitely watching our every move, every step, and want to be just like us. And so it's important that we model Christ better than how we have in many ways. The last verse is to the Lord. Basically, obviously he can't reach higher than who God is, but basically just rejoicing and glorifying the Lord in who he is as being God, and how he wants to be just like him. He wants to strive and live just like how he does. I thought that was pretty dope. And so the very last song is called, The Gospel. The same song he's had on the last 4 or 5 albums or whatnot, 2 or 3 albums, sorry. Great song. It's funny. I know when I first heard it, I said that I didn't necessarily like it because it seemed like it was off. But the more and more I hear in each different songs, the more I fall in love with it. A lot of speculation. Just to be honest with you, a lot of speculation in that song, but I think he handled it well. I think he handled the text and the truth in the gospel very well. I still holding on to some things, but for the most part, I think I'm satisfied with how he handled that, and I think he did a great job with that. Overall, man, this album was A very phenomenal album. Beautiful album. Well done album. If this is his last album, then he went out beautifully. Salute, bro. I'm so proud of the man. I've seen you from the beginning when you was dissing Jay and Beyonce and all of them into who you are now. The N-word was almost said one time, but he bleeped it out, so it wasn't said. That there is leaps and bounds, just levels of maturity that I love, because I hate when they say the N-word, but he didn't say it. They didn't curse. It was a dope album. It was an album that I could literally play around my kids and not be concerned or scared that something's going to be said that's going to make me say, cover your ears. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful album. It wasn't just to be straight, it wasn't the typical, Jesus album that we've kind of grown accustomed to here from God Over Money. It definitely had it reminded me of the Book of Ruth in a sense, right? Ruth. Sorry. Ruth. How God's not mentioned at all in that book, but that God's hand is all over that book. So on this album here, God isn't mentioned a lot. Christ isn't really mentioned a lot. There isn't a lot of scripture references in this album, maybe none actually. But listening to this, that there is a God sense. There's a Christ sense in this album that that he is trying to accomplish a lot that he can't accomplish unless given power from the Holy Spirit. And I loved it. I love this album. It's a long review. I already know it's gonna be long, and I'm sorry now. Shout out to those that stuck through and listened to it all. But great album. Please go cop this bad boy. You would not be sorry. I loved every bit of it. Production was on point. All the singers were on point. I'm glad there was no features because this was him pouring his heart out. And I love this album for real. Very dope album. Salute my guy. All right, y'all. Grace.